It was a peaceful Saturday morning when Daniel Parker, a quiet man in his early 40s, took his small wooden boat out on the lake behind his home. The gentle ripples sparkled under the golden sun, and for Daniel, it was his place of peace. But peace was short-lived. From across the lake came the shrill voice of Karen Thompson, the self-appointed queen of the HOA. Her sunglasses reflected judgment, and her clipboard was her weapon. She marched up to Daniel's dock and yelled, "Sir, you can't leave your boat here. It's against HOA policy." Daniel looked up calmly, a slight smile curling his lips. He knew something she didn't, something that would soon turn her power upside down. Karen huffed, arms crossed, as she pointed at Daniel's boat like it was a crime scene. "We've had complaints," she continued, "and this lake is under HOA management. You'll need to move your boat immediately." Daniel quietly nodded, saying little. He wasn't one for confrontation. But Karen mistook his silence for submission. She turned to the other members of the HOA board who stood proudly behind her, whispering, "Finally, someone's putting him in his place." What they didn't know was that Daniel had inherited not just the cabin he lived in, but the very land and water surrounding it. The lake wasn't theirs to regulate. It was his, legally, historically, and fully. And soon, he was about to remind them of that truth. By the next morning, Daniel found an official HOA notice pinned to his dock. It demanded that his boat be removed within 48 hours or face fines and possible removal. He chuckled quietly, shaking his head. He'd seen this kind of behavior before, people assuming power where none existed. Instead of reacting in anger, he opened his family's old file cabinet and pulled out a folder marked Property Deeds. Inside was a map, yellowed by time, showing the lake's clear boundary, owned entirely by his grandfather, passed down through generations. The HOA had no claim. He scanned the document, smiled, and decided it was time to teach a quiet lesson in humility and truth. 2 days later, Karen returned with her clipboard army, expecting obedience. But this time, Daniel met them halfway down the dock, papers in hand. "Morning," he said politely. "I believe you've made a mistake." Karen frowned, ready to argue. But as Daniel unfolded the deed, her confidence wavered. The map clearly showed the lake's ownership under the Parker family name. "This can't be right," she stammered. "We've always managed the lake." Daniel's tone stayed calm. "Maybe you've managed it," he replied softly, "but you've never owned it." The HOA members shifted uncomfortably. For the first time, Karen's authority began to crumble like sand slipping through fingers. Word spread through the neighborhood like wildfire. The men they dismissed so easily now turned out to own the very lake that made their community special. But instead of gloating, Daniel remained composed. He noticed how some neighbors approached him with curiosity, while others avoided eye contact, embarrassed by their assumptions. Karen, however, couldn't let it go. She tried to dig up legal loopholes, even calling an emergency HOA meeting to challenge the deed. But each time, the records came back the same: Daniel Parker, sole owner. The truth was undeniable. And yet, Daniel still hadn't used his power. Not yet. It wasn't until Karen crossed the line again that Daniel finally decided enough was enough. She posted signs around the lake claiming the HOA would regulate fishing access and charge membership fees. That's when Daniel acted. He sent an official notice to the HOA board, stating that the lake was private property. And their fishing club, which had operated there for years, no longer had permission to use it. When the club arrived one weekend to fish, they were met with locked gates and clear signs: private lake. Access by owner, permission only. Karen's jaw dropped when she saw Daniel calmly sitting on his dock, fishing in silence, the only men allowed on the water. In the days that followed, Karen's tone changed completely. The HOA meetings grew quiet without her loud presence. Some neighbors even apologized to Daniel, realizing how unfairly they'd judged him. Daniel didn't hold grudges, he simply smiled and said, "We all learn sooner or later." The lake returned to its peaceful stillness, free from HOA control. Karen, humbled, moved her focus to other neighborhood concerns, far away from Daniel's dock. And as Daniel watched the sun set over the water he rightfully owned, he felt a quiet satisfaction, not from revenge, but from knowing that sometimes, the calmest waters hide the deepest power.